Previously on the Aruba switching story, in our previous episodes we've discussed the Aruba Edge Services platform and how Aruba switches fit into the unified infrastructure as part of ESP. We've gone over our workflow where we had to plug in a security camera and be able to access the data center using dynamic segmentation. But first we had to provision the data center using the Aruba Fabric Composer. Then we learned about data center bridging and how it can apply and benefit Aruba data center switches. Moving forward, we needed to bring up the campus infrastructure so that we could plug in our camera and have it ready to onboard our camera and other devices. After that, then we were able to plug in the camera securely using secure methods of onboarding devices and applying our Aruba's dynamic segmentation solution to it so that the camera traffic could get to the facial recognition application in the data center. We then learned about Power over Ethernet and some of the advanced capabilities of AOS CX with quick PoE and always-on PoE. We learned about virtual switching framework and how it applies to campus switches at the access layer. We then explored resiliency with the AOS CX operating system and high availability with virtual switching extension. In this episode, we're going to learn about the network analytics engine. We have Yash and Kamal Takodra, who are technical marketing engineers, here with us again to explain further the network analytics engine and NAE. Yash and Kamal?
Hey Justin, thank you very much for that. And it was really good to see in the previous segment the HA features from Vincent and Steve around VSX. So as mentioned earlier, I'm Kamal Takodra and I'm joined with Yash. By Yash, we are both technical marketing engineers for CX switching, and we're going to be talking about Network Analytics Engine, or commonly known as NAE. So I think, Yash, you've got a bit of a diagram that we can have a quick look at. Yeah, so in this diagram, you can see multiple CX switches across the enterprise in both the access, campus, and in the data center. And you can see those little orange dots. That's representing what we call the Network Analytics Engine, which is in every single CX switch. This Network Analytics Engine is going to hopefully provide us some bit more information, which Yash is going to talk about. So Yash, tell me, Network Analytics Engine, I keep on hearing that it's great for troubleshooting and analytics. And it sounds really good in theory. And I'll be really honest with you, today I'm happy to use SFlow, SNMP, looking at my logs and my CLI in my network. It's a bit harder to correlate it, yeah, for sure. But it's the way I've used it and find it useful. But tell me, this Network Analytics Engine on the Aruba CX switches, what are the benefits and how can they help me?
Thank you, Kamal. Yes, I think you touched upon a point of how network operators in the history relied on this traditional troubleshooting methods. As you mentioned, commonly used method was like CLI commands with SNMP, streaming the complete telemetry to a centralized costly appliances, or monitoring the third one, which is not a least one, like third-party monitoring tools like any of the NMS. So these three methods are network operators used it very commonly in the traditional world. Of course, all these three methods are supported on AOS CX switches to maintain the compatibility. But these methods are kind of reactive and definitely needs an admin to watch every detail on each of the AOS CX switches. For example, if there was a MAC count decrease, unless an admin logs into that box, understand what goes on, and then he tries to debug why the MAC addresses went down. A simplest use case like that need an admin, a labor-intensive work that he has to log into the device and understand how many MAC addresses were there in the past and how many MAC addresses are there now. Coming back, and also remember, there is no actionable insight out of any of these three methods which you mentioned. One, with the CLI and SNMP. Again, it's a reactive approach. Basically, you got to know something after the problem occurred. And the next one, streaming the telemetry, it is just collecting some samples. You are not collecting the actual problem data when it happened, right? And also monitoring, end of the day, it is sampling through, again, it is sending some of the information, pulling some of the SNMP set or get commands from one of the NMS station. This completely misses the actionable inside data coming out of the AOS-CX switches. So because of this major trouble, we were able to innovate the complete architecture of AOS-CX switches and bring something known as cloud native architecture on our each and every AOS-CX switches. With this, the bigger benefit is the programmability. So that means you can access each and every data of AOS-CX switches through a secure REST APIs. As you see on the screen, Aruba Network Analytics Engine is built on three main components. The configuration state database maintains all configuration as well as the status of each protocol along with this counter status. Network Analytics Engine with the REST API has complete access to this configurations database. And to maintain the history of 400 days, it has another database called time series database. Again, the Network Analytics Engine has that access, complete access through a REST API. The next, which is very simple, is accessing these two database through a Python script. So Python script, a simple Python script written can access any of this database securely and provide you any information at any point of time. What does it mean? Basically, these Python-based script, which are very easy to deploy as an agent on AOS-CX switches, as you see on the screen, these orange dots, can provide any information at real time. Let me take an example so that you can understand this little bit better. For example, you want to understand a faulty transceivers connected on this device. With Aruba Network Analytics Engine, you can just deploy a faulty agent here on the AOS-CX switches. Transceiver faulty agent will be monitoring if any faulty agents transceiver is connected. This agent will alert to a centralized tools like Aruba NetEdit or Aruba Central. Or let's go a little bit ahead. Instead of just a device health, let's move on to a networking health. So let's consider there is a routing daemon running here, and due to some reason, the control plane reason, the states got changed from full to X start. So you immediately see an alert coming from this device onto AOS-CX, from the AOS-CX to Aruba NetEdit or Aruba Central. That way, at the same time as the alert is coming, remember one thing, Aruba Network Analytics Engine is like virtual technician sitting on AOS-CX box. It does some of the things which you can do as admin. It will also collect some of the data for you, like collecting show OSPF neighbor data or collecting the ping data between the two devices, whether it is pingable from here to here, because the OSPF has been broken down. You need to know whether the ping is working. You need to know the trace route is working. So those all data it will collect and get you that information onto a centralized Aruba NetEdit or like Aruba Central. So these simple NAE agents can go on to each of the AOS-CX switches and stay there as sensors and watching every action has been defined in this NAE agents. Hope this is clear to you and a big differentiator compared to a reactive approach versus a proactive method where you get all the data at real time and viewing visibility, and also you can take action because of that visibility.
Sure, Yash. Okay, sorry to interrupt you there, but Yash, okay, I'm getting to understand the NAE and the benefits it could possibly bring taking us to the next level without manual cross-correlation between different tools. Most probably cuts down my effort and labor to a resolution quickly, and it's supported by having a cloud-native OS that you've described. We've got historical data that we can pull upon, and I think it's got a graphical, easy-to-view interface to get problem resolution. It's all independent and easy to deploy with scripts available that you described in the Python, and also it's API open access. So this all sounds great, and we've talked about it a lot. Any way we can bring this together so I can get a better handle of it? Any way of demonstrating this to us, Yash?
Absolutely, Kamal. I just wanted to, before we just move to the demo, the one point we have to note, Kamal, is remember, these NAE agents are also integrated with third-party industry leading some of the incident management tools like ServiceNow and Topdesk. And also these agents can dynamically send email, or it can also create a Slack channel notification. So all of that is integrated on Network Analytics Engine. That is great. Let us watch a simple NAE agent. How does it work and how it is going to helpful for a network admin from Aruba NetEdit and also from Aruba AOS CX Web UI. So before moving on to Aruba NetEdit, as you see here, this is the Aruba NetEdit window. I'm just there on the topology view. Before going there, let's move to 1 minute to AOS CX Web UI. As I explained in the past, AOS CX switch has a very rich Web UI. The second tab to that one, you can see here very clearly, is the first tab in this. From the left hand side, you can see a second analytics tab. Click on the analytics tab. If you see here, there is a system resource monitoring agent. This agent is basically a default agent on all AOS CX switches. This agent does monitoring of the system resources. As you see on the screen, this provides the left-hand side agent details, and it also provides some edit agent options. That means you can define some of the threshold depending on the network deployment, network place deployment. For an example, if you're deploying a access switch, there, if the CPU goes up till 90%, it is fine because it is going to impact certain portion of the access. But let's consider if the CPU goes up at the core to a 90%, it is more concerning. So there you want to change the threshold. All of that you can do it by just clicking on the edit button, and you can change this all threshold. You can also view this script. As I was telling you, it's a completely Python based, and it can access both databases, which I mentioned, configuration state database, as well as time series database. So these Python script can access, and user can write their own Python script and upload it on AOS CX switches. Here is what you will see, as you said, a live graphical interface for this resource monitoring. As I was telling you about time series database, this NAE maintains time series database. That means you can get 1 year data of the system. You can see here, there was some alert messages. You can see these triangles, orange color. Here also you can see one another alert. So I'll click on this orange alert. I want to know what happened that time. So as soon as I click that one, you can see this is what the big differentiator compared to a legacy reactive method versus the proactive data. There was a memory increased, utilization crossed that, exceeded the threshold of 5%. So as soon as threshold was been hit, at the same time, like an admin, the NAE agent was able to execute some more commands and provide little bit more insight at that point of time. This is the one of the cool feature which is very much required by any admin. When anything happens on that device, he wants to know why it is happening and what was the reason at that point of time. So at that point of time, whatever the data can be useful is thrown to the admin. You can see here, show COP statistics, it is collected, and it will also collect whatever you are going to declare as an admin. You can get all of the details from this NAE agent, right? So let's see this one, the second output. You can see it has collected the top memory because it is crossed the threshold memory. It is collecting all the details which is required, who is consuming the more memory. So, and also it is collecting show system resource utilization. So this is clear. Yes, as a standalone, you can deploy agents and you can monitor them. But I know what is coming on your mind. Yes, you want to deploy these agents from a centralized location and not only on one access switch, on all your access switches. For example, as we just saw, a VSF stack monitoring script, you want to deploy on all access switches, or you want to just look at all the MAC address on the each of the AOS CX access switches. How to deploy them? There is two ways you can do. Either you can use Aruba Central and use the multi-edit option. When you go to the multi-edit option, you can see there very clearly, you can deploy any agents from a central, or you can use, as I'm showing you on the screen, Aruba NetEdit and deploy them from the Aruba NetEdit centrally. So you have to go to the topology view and deploy solution. As you know, there are many deploy solution here, but come to the Aruba Network Analytics engine deploy solution. Here currently we are maintaining 5 agents. You can add more agents, that's in our roadmap. So in any of these 5 agents, you're going to click, let me click on software device health monitoring agent. So what it is asking me to provide the name. This name, you can see it on the devices as soon as it is loaded. So I'm going to provide software health MAC address. Okay. So I provided this name. So now I'm not going to change any of these parameters currently. Total MAC address is currently 1700. I'm going to leave it like that only. Still, I get an option to edit this one on the switch itself. So I'm going to create this agent. And it is going through a process of all NetEdit. That means NetEdit doing the, as you have heard, NetEdit is a configuration management system. That means it will check every configuration, it will validate before it deploys that. So it is checking now, can this agent be deployed on these 2 switches which we have selected? It is giving a certificate saying that, hey, you know what, I validated these devices, you can deploy this on these 2 devices. So I'm going to deploy these 2 agents, this agent on these 2 switches. Now let me go back to one of that switch, 10, 6, 9, 16. As you see on the screen, it's very little bit small, 10, 6, 9, 16. I'm getting onto that switch to see whether I have that script coming on. You can see here now that script has become 2/10 and agent is still 1. That means the agent which is currently running on the box is system resource, that's a default. And the agent we just pushed is not yet running. To run, I'm going to click this button. Let me go back and commit this. So I'm going to commit the script, and this script will automatically run now on these 2 switches. So you can see here the software health MAC address, it is running on 10, 6, 9, 16. And also I'm going to show you whether it is running on 10, 6, 9, 15. So you can see here also you can see there are 2 agents and 2 scripts and 2 agents, both are running now because it is committed. And let me add the view for this one also. You can see here there are only 7 MAC address count. You can see very clearly, as Kamal was saying. And also you remember Aruba Web UI is very rich. You can reset the page and you can enlarge if you want to see this graph or move this wherever you would like to and enlarge the view part, right? So that is something very, very important and very cool feature so that you have the complete visibility of the box. Okay, and then once you do that, you can go back and lock your page. So you can see now both system resource monitoring default as well as software health MAC address, both are deployed on both the switches. So here you can see number of MAC address are 4, and here you can see number of MAC address are 7. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just click on the software health MAC address and change that number of MAC addresses on this switch. So earlier we saw default, it was set to 1700, which is expected on access switches. So I'm going to set it, because there were 7, I'm going to set it to 5 and save this one. Now you can see the threshold instead of 1700, it has changed to 5 because of demo purpose. And you can clearly see whether I will get an alert message onto my Aruba NetEdit, because I want to see view at the consolidated place. Let me go back and look at the Aruba NetEdit at a central place and see will I get an alert because of the change of the MAC address. Meanwhile, let me go back here. You watch this one. Here it has 4. Let me also edit this agent and make it as probably, because there are only 4 here, let me make it as 3 so that we will see this. It's giving alert from this switch also, so that we can see a consolidated alert from both the switches. As you see now, both the switches are able to see the critical alert. So this switch, what we saw 10, 6, 9, 15 is able to provide me a critical alert. Let's go back and see this triangle. So this triangle, it says me that very critical. That means it has reached the threshold. The threshold was set to only 7, but it has set to 5, and the MAC addresses were 7. And I can view that one very clearly on the graph, right? Let's see on the Aruba NetEdit, will I be able to see the critical alert? Yes, I see the critical alert on the 10, 6, 9, 15. And also you can see, as you are seeing on the screen, 10, 6, 9, 16 also reported a critical alert. We can view that one consolidated view here on the Aruba NetEdit window. And also to get more details, you can see here, you can click on that where the alert is there and go to the devices. It clearly shows, yes, this is the network analytics engine. It is in trouble and it has given the alert. As soon as you click this one, it takes you to back to your Aruba web UI, the switch web UI. So that way, any admin can manage all the switches from Aruba NetEdit with deploying from central location. He can manage whether he is getting the alert using the NAE sensors on each of the devices. Okay. With this, you can log in and view what's happening and collect more details. And this is a simple demonstration of how Aruba Network Analytics engine sitting as an agent on each AOS CX switches and observing as a sensor and collecting those details as soon as an admin declares that threshold. Okay. Hope this demonstration is clear to you and have a consolidated view at the Aruba NetEdit, also at Aruba Central. Kamal.
Yes, that was really, really great. And that's really brought it all together. So from my understanding and what you demonstrated, NEA supplements and enhance existing tools. We have scripts and tools per switch that we can download from Aruba Solution Exchange or create our own. And we can deploy them centrally from NetEdit, as you showed here. And we can also take actions from NetEdit centrally because we can see the alerts. We also, as you mentioned earlier, have third-party hooks into ServiceNow and Topdesk. And we can also see historical data, in fact, over a year's worth, and look at overall trends. And then drill down to each CX switch individually. And also, great, simple, nice graphical view of everything. So it's great for my enterprise, for service and operations, I think. So that's really made it clear. So on that, I will now hand over back to Justin.
Kamal, for the very detailed explanation on the network analytics engine. Coming up on our next episode, we will talk more about automation and how that can help Aruba CX switching and the benefits of it.